very excited for this podcast. We have with us Luke Townsin. Luke Townsin's Senior Director, Head of Monetization and Partnerships at TikTok. He was former Chief Strategy Officer at Whaler, also Non-Exec Director at ThisThat's, and before that, very much in the infancy of influence marketing at Twitter too. Honored to have you here, Luke.
Great, thank you for having me, gentlemen. Privileged to be here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I forgot about you on the left there. Yeah.
Luke, everywhere we go, in this space, when we talk about TikTok, your name comes up. Now everyone raves about you and absolutely loves you. Could you give us just a sense of what a day in the life for Luke is like? What do you do at TikTok?
I mean, first of all, I'm astounded to hear that anyone is raving about me in any capacity, but that's a very, very kind thing for you to say, especially this early on a Thursday morning in Cannes. Day in my life at TikTok. So, I mean, from a professional capacity, my role is to help clients and largely our internal sales team to understand our third-party product sort of infrastructure and offering. And what I mean by that is one of the key aims of our team is to help distill and service clients' creative needs in a way that is, hopefully not very complicated and makes it easy to advertise on TikTok. So when we talk about third-party product, we think about the partners that we have in the ecosystem, from a creative production element all the way to much more of a creator focus. And we think about how do we build those into a product at TikTok, and how do we make it very easy for our advertisers and our sales teams to access partners through these products with workflow, a decision tree, an ability to find the right partner for the right brief, really. And all of that is with the idea of how can we make the process of getting creative on TikTok faster, and how can we make it more effective, and ultimately how can we be an engine that utilizes the ecosystem of great partners that we have there to help you guys grow your businesses, lean more into TikTok as well, and obviously be a part of that journey.
I love that. Just for the listeners, would you be able to expand on examples of clients and examples of partners? Would they be talent managers, agencies, other advertisers?
The examples of there's a whole plethora of partners that exist in the ecosystem, and I guess first and foremost, obviously ThisThat's is in the sort of creator space. The partners that you're looking at, many of you know would be the likes of Whaler, influencer in the UK. You've got $1 Billion Boy. You've got Go, which was recently acquired by GroupM, and huge congratulations to them. So that is much more on the kind of creator end, and within those groups of partners and agencies, they all have very, very distinct offerings. Some more lean into the higher brand work, some work much more in the capacity as a creative agency, some are more, leaning into the performance aspect of influence marketing, which is a hugely growing trend. And on the other side of the coin, you've got companies who are becoming very adept at taking the client's assets, that they have existing assets that they want to use on TikTok, remixing those, or using production, even creators in their content, but probably smaller creators who what you wouldn't term as an influencer, and using them as a way to generate TikTok first content, and therefore giving clients a huge amount of assets which they can use different variations for to reach their goals.
You just a second ago had mentioned that you're focused on making it quicker and easier to set up, but also more effective.
Yes.
What are sort of challenges and opportunities within that you're trying to do and work on?
I mean, I think there's effective creative has a number of dimensions, and I think first and foremost, when we talk about being effective on TikTok, one of the big challenges that happens on TikTok is it's a very ephemeral platform. So content is consumed very, very quickly, and in order to be effective on TikTok, And for your content not to wear out, you need to have a lot of variation. You need to have a lot of different ad types, ad groups if you're running paid media. So in terms of being effective, it's not necessarily looking at the result first, it's being effective in the way that you're set up.
I like that.
To be effective. And I think at the other end of it is, does it drive the outcome that you want? So have you got the right call to action? Is the creative landing in a way that it's driving the outcome that you want? And moving into sort of ThisThat's world, we've definitely got a lot of work to do in sort of evaluation around the effectiveness beyond the last click. There's a lot of partners out there now that are trying to look at the full funnel and think about where does TikTok play a role in the funnel. And I think a lot of researchers suggest that TikTok is playing a much larger role beyond the last click attribution model. And that is something that we're quite heavily focused on and proving out. But bringing that back to the creator element, I think there's a lot of work still to be done to build out, effectiveness and an understanding of, how powerful creator content can be at delivering a role. So I think, at a superficial level, we kind of know it works, and we have all the superficial metrics to say that it does work. And we know anecdotally from research that creator content, influencer content is incredibly effective at influencing consumer behaviour. And I think that's really obvious. And I was talking on a panel the other day about kind of prime energy drink. Hard to
Big up KSI and Logan Paul.
But I mean, an amazing example. And this isn't directly correlated in any study, but this is real life. I was in a petrol station in all places, and two young individuals were fighting over a £9 bottle of prime energy drink about who could get the last one. And
I'm not surprised.
if there's any effect that creators and influencers have aside from kicking off brawls in petrol stations, they're definitely driving a huge, purchase intent. That's incredibly powerful. And, it's difficult to articulate that in any research study, right? So I think there's a lot. There's a lot that's probably being missed, but I think there's a huge opportunity to work out how do we capture more, and what are the vehicles of research that we use to capture that.
I was just going to go back to the partnerships. You mentioned some incredible agencies there. What does it take to be a TikTok marketing partner? What do you look for?
I mean, we have a TikTok marketing partners program, and there is quite a lot of rigor around. I mean, it depends on the partnership and what kind of partner you are. We have creative partners, ad tech partners, data partners, research partners. I think first and foremost is demonstrating domain expertise on TikTok. So I think the first part of it, and then I think also the second part of it is what value are you adding to the ecosystem? What are you bringing that clients or other partners or agencies will find valuable? And I think thirdly, we look to evaluate how you can demonstrate that, right? I don't think it's just just getting the badge is not, we're not handing it out like candy, right? It's meant to be there as a program where you have demonstrated that you have the capabilities and expertise on TikTok to go out into the market, and we're endorsing you as a partner in the ecosystem to do that. So, it takes to be earned, and beyond that, the program is designed to help you guys accelerate your businesses and bring you closer into TikTok so that you understand the way that we're growing as a platform, the products that we're launching, the narrative that we're taking to market as well, so that you can understand our positioning and you can position that with clients. So that is the sort of nature of the program.
I like that.
Lovely. Where was that coming from?
Ravi, do you mind just quickly grabbing that pillow? I've also noticed from our conversations from the early days when we first started talking, now coming up 3 years ago, you also always said less is more.
Yeah.
And I loved how you were able to simplify I very much have a tendency of overcomplicating and trying to think of absolutely everything.
You do, but
Yeah.
it's not a bad thing. But you're a very creative person. But I think reduction is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the practices that we do, effectively nothing really changes. It's just the technology that's changing. And I think in our industry, especially in this space, there is something new every single day. There's something changing, and it's very easy to get lost in that, and it's very easy to lose key principles of what you're trying to achieve,
Yeah.
right? And I think if you get lost, you go off on a tangent, and you end up not solving what you're trying to solve. And this can be applied to advertisers approaching creator marketing, or it can be applied to a partner trying to navigate their way
Yeah.
to make sure that they excel at delivering what they're good at. And so I'm a big fan of less is more,
Like that.
simplification.
But
And,
it takes real expertise to be able to do that. Would you say it's perhaps fair to say as to why people like you so much, that your superpower is that domain expertise? You've been there from the very beginning, and you've been in all these different forms of context. They're able to provide that operational framework in a very simple and approachable, accessible way.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm an expert by any means in a lot of fields of what we do, but what I guess I do bring to the table is the experience. So I've seen, I don't like to call it mistakes. I'd rather call it learnings, because I think the whole journey is a learning of what works and what doesn't work. And I think in an industry like this, which, yes, it's not old now, but it's not mature, but it's still relatively young.
Yeah.
The whole span of the world of advertising, content creation, and social. It's a very, very young industry still. I think that's what's most exciting, is there is still so much growth in the overall creator economy. And that's yes, it's reflected in the amount of spend that advertisers put in, the earnings that creators are generating. But beyond that, I'm very interested to see how the business really starts to evolve beyond just brand partnerships.
We're seeing
evidence of that, right? Brand partnerships, and the prime example that I mentioned is a really good example of kind of product innovation. I think if you're in the food and beverage industry, you've got a whole load of people who come up with ideas for new product lines. So I just think this is
that's very exciting.
That's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, and where is it going to go? I don't know. I mean, I think there's plenty of avenues it can go, but I think what we can say is that the creator industry, and not just marketing, is definitely here to stay. And it's only growing.
In your opinion, what are the good things that TikTok brings to the table, and what would people be missing out on if legislation was to change?
I mean, I think fundamentally that TikTok brings you joy. I mean, I think when you go into TikTok, you sort of feel entertained, and you go into a world of discovery around entertainment. I mean, that's what I go there for. I don't I find it quite relaxing.
Yeah.
Actually, and you can spend a lot of time on it and sort of take yourself away. I mean, it's a little bit like people used to go to the movies back in the day. It's a kind of sort of escapism, I think, that people go to, and I think that was very evident in the pandemic, which is probably a big reason why TikTok's popularity grew, and I think also a sense of community, and I think that's really evidenced in, you look at things like BookTok, right, which is an amazing community that was built around discovering books and great things to read, and I talk about entertainment. Yes, TikTok is very much an entertainment-centric platform, but it offers so much more. And I think the big thing it really has often stood out to me is around education.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
And if you think about science, technology, engineering, and maths, there are huge communities around that which can teach you a lot of stuff.
Absolutely, business as well as co-founders. Yeah. The amount of snippets I get from Max on TikTok about how to run this, that is incredible, and for sure.
Alex and Leila Hormozi.
Huge. And actually, as a consequence of STEM, that actual topic, there is a tab in the core consumer app now. It's available in the US where you can go and discover in more depth in those communities because it became so popular. We wanted to make it more prominent and more discoverable. So, yeah, I think ultimately, TikTok is a fantastic canvas for creativity, and the company has done a brilliant job of creating tools, make it very easy for anyone to access and be creative and self-express themselves without it having to be, really polished. I think there's less pressure, and there's less pressure. There's less barrier to entry, so it feels very authentic, and I think quite refreshing.
Yeah.
You used relaxing as word choice earlier, which I really liked and I think is unique to TikTok. The way you even set up Spark ads is that you amplify already organically posted content. That forces creators to be authentic to themselves. They can't just do dark posts where they do a brand deal and they sort of behind the scenes create an ad that none of their fans see. They're always speaking a language that they know will resonate with their community, because if it didn't, it would be harming their own brand. And if you think of that with context to relaxing, is people that would be following certain creators or liking engaging with certain creators, they would choose to engage with that creator regardless already. And so it's an environment that they are enjoying, and it sort of respects that nature. I don't know if that was by design, but it works very well.
I mean, I think first and foremost, creators are very much the lifeblood of TikTok, and it'd be very difficult to understand what TikTok would be without them. And I think in terms of a product experience, we wanted to make it feel as seamless as possible, and creator content, ad or non-ad or organic, however you want to position it, flows very naturally through that feed and that experience. So it wouldn't have made any sense to sort of pivot away from that, I think. And I think that's one of the successes of the Spark ads.
I mean, TikTok was built on the foundation of build TikToks, not ads.
Exactly. Make TikToks, not ads.
Make TikTok ads.
You had said that you still feel like we're at the very early stages and still very early. And when we look at sort of market adoption, we think of ourselves as at a really critical point where we've now managed to convince all the innovative visionaries and sort of early adopters in the influence marketing realm, sort of brands tapping into that. But now we're sort of early stage of mass market and really scaling within that. So I think it's now a really interesting time to, perhaps we could segue the conversation to one, look backwards as to like, what was the journey like getting those innovators and early adopters on board, and any success stories or maybe massive hilarious flops as well along that. And then perhaps after that we could talk a little bit about where you think it's going to go. It's really hard to tell, and it's awesome that you're speaking about prioritizing, giving tools to make it easier, but also helping them with effectiveness, because those are the core pillars that will allow people to explore and just naturally go in the right way. But we could sort of explore the future a little bit. So just in summary, we could look back and sort of look forward. Where would you like to start?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to take in there, Max.
The history of TikTok.
The history of TikTok. I mean,
or even way back, like back to 2015.
The industry was very basic then. It was, find me a set of influencers, and influencer was very much the term, not creator. Who can reach my target audience. And there was sort of little care, I think, around the evaluation of that. Actually, there was less focus on metrics. There was less focus on, did it work? We kind of think it did work, but maybe it didn't. And I think there was a lot of exploration. I think there's a lot of exploration for influencers, then creators, however you want to describe them back then, about what does work and what works for their audiences. There's been lots of ups and downs around saturation. Like, are we doing too much branded content? Is it have a negative effect on audiences? And I think over time, influencers and creators have definitely taken stock about what does work for their audience, and are very, very picky actually about what they decide to choose. And I think that's very difficult actually, when you are really making a livelihood from this particular space, and you do rely on money, and having to be picky and choosy, I think, is very hard, because money's money and everyone wants to make some money. And I think that's been the big change. You used to see a lot of people just accepting it and getting on with it and saying, yeah, I'll take the money, but I think everyone's a lot more conscious around that now, because the long-term effect it can have on your audience, and the idea of sort of cluttering your feed with a lot of paid content. But I think, looking forward, I guess in the dimension of, if you look at technology as the interesting part, not the interesting part, but probably more the one that's going to have the biggest impact. I think AI is going to have a big impact. And from an AI standpoint, if you think about script writing, which if you're working on branded partnerships is almost the hardest part at times. How do I generate a script for this piece of content that tells a compelling story? And how do I use technology to help me do that faster? Not taking away the creativity, but giving you a framework about storylines, about a structure, a narrative around. I think that's going to be game changing for a lot of creators and also a lot of advertisers as well. To think about the kind of storylines, the kind of content they want. And then I think immersive experiences is going to be a huge thing for definitely the younger generations. And you think about AR and VR. And I know we've talked about these topics for many years, but you're seeing a lot of manufacturers across the world, from Apple and Samsung, really starting to develop that technology. And I think immersive experiences is going to be a big thing around creator marketing and sort of how we cater for that. So I think the traditional, here is my product, buy this product, is sort of dying a death. These sort of shots of people just holding a product, which is pretty much what it was 10 years ago, has really changed to being much more authentic and much more creative. So proliferation of technology, the understanding of what audiences want to see, and I think also the demands of advertisers to be much more sophisticated has really driven that change.
Something I actually want to know your opinion on is, so we're going to have to give a bit of context to this, but if you think of a business being described as the people within it, they're the driving force of what the business is and how effective it is. With us sort of launching products or growing products through creators, and creators being effectively peers to their audiences, are we changing the landscape somewhat, that businesses are now no longer just their team of people that work with them, but almost the community of the creators as well? Do you think that's the direction in which the industry could go?
Sorry, how do you mean?
In a sense of no longer just a brand saying, hey creator, I'd like you to help me launch this product. More so the brand's actually building ambassador relationships with creators, allowing creators to influence where the brand goes.
Oh, I think,
but because the creator is part of the community.
I think it's becoming less transactional. So I think it's not like, here's the product, go and execute it, and we'll probably never speak to you again. I think for brands who care about branding and their reputation, and ambassadorship, and in many instances, as I said earlier, building products in collaboration with these.
Basically with Prime, for instance.
Yeah, Prime, for instance, is a really good one. And I don't know if you've heard of Tingly Ted's, which is a hot sauce launched by Ed Sheeran.
Oh no, yes, yeah.
So that's an amazing example. Actually, Ed Sheeran is really into ketchup.
Is he?
Loves Heinz ketchup.
To be fair, it has to be Heinz.
And he went to Heinz about launching Tingly Ted's, which is effectively a spicy ketchup.
Yeah.
And interestingly, he didn't want to necessarily be the big face of the campaign, and he wanted to use creators who had a passion around food to really launch that and build that and generate interest around the product through community. And that's a huge change if you look 10 years ago where someone might have just been interested with a product.
Exactly, yeah. But what really excites me there is that it seems like we're building more of a symbiotic relationship between marketers and consumers.
Yes.
It very much used to be brand just trying to influence consumer, you buy this or you don't buy this. And now it seems to be this constant feedback loop between the two, or you're part of culture, you build it with the community. I think it's much healthier. We're in a day and age where people see ads and just want to tap skip.
Yeah.
The creators, but people choose to engage with that. I think that symbiotic relationship is going to help reduce the amount of ads that we skip.
It might.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to wrap this.
Yeah, guys, we are too.
I think that was fantastic. We can wrap it there. That was a real honor. I think we covered a lot of amazing stuff.
Yeah, Luke, honestly, absolute pleasure. I'm glad we didn't get wet or
thank you. Thank you for having me. Much appreciated.
I was somewhat worried about you going to your next meeting soaking wet.
No, it's no worries. Thank you, guys.
That's a wrap.